Welcome back to the channel, everybody, and welcome back to the joint Battle of Ohio franchise here on Madden 19. I am your host, the Bayonet Gamer, joined alongside by the only King Theo. So we have just finished up the preseason. It was kind of a disappointing in terms of win-losses for us, as most of our division, really. But Theo managed to pick up a win on the last game of his preseason. We did not. We had a horrible game against the Colts. I know I only showed the Bears game. Well, honestly, the preseason, there wasn't much to show. It was a mess a lot of the time. The backups were just getting beat up on, and it wasn't that enjoyable to watch. As far as cuts and practice squads go, there wasn't really anybody that notable that really interesting enough to really talk much about. Most of the cuts just made sense. They were guys who were very low overalls and were kind of just unnecessary depth. We did have one unfortunate injury here for the Bengals. This is kind of going to impact my plans this year. It is John Ross, the wide receiver. He broke his collarbone in week 3 of the preseason and will be out for the first 7 weeks, so pretty much the first half of the season. He will be back for our games versus Theo's Browns, so hopefully we can involve him in the game there, but we'll see. As far as stats, there really wasn't anything that impressive, honestly. It was quite ugly, honestly. Dalton didn't play much. Barkley is going to be the backup. Logan Woodside, who I had talked about as the scheme fit, he's going to be on the practice squad. He did see some time. He had about like 3 touchdowns, but he threw more interceptions than I was comfortable with keeping him on the roster. So our practice squad is going to kind of look like this to start off. Mostly young guys who are scheme fits, and then a few guys I just kind of wanted to keep around to see how they develop. As far as return man without John Ross, it's going to be Jabril Peppers, which is actually making this whole trade with Theo very clutch. And then that was pretty much it on my half. Theo, I'll turn it over to you. How did your preseason end up?
Well, the preseason with the Cleveland Browns was not bad at all, really. Wasn't terrible. We fought every game pretty hard. All our games were pretty close. We're just making some moves here. We're cutting some players, moving them to the practice squad. We have a lot of abundance of unnecessary players, filling up a lot of cap space. Move some to the practice squad that I feel like can help this team in the future. But overall, for this Cleveland Browns team, I think it was a good step. We did go 1-4, but our last game was Detroit. We won 21-3. We saw a good quarterback play from both Tyrod and Baker. Although Tyrod didn't have a touchdown, he only played 2 plays and I think gained 60 yards. And Baker finished it off with a running touchdown. Baker finished with 3 touchdowns in that game and an interception. Overall, Tyrod is going to be the week 1 starter.
Blockbuster announcement there, deciding to go with the surefire veteran hand.
I have made that decision. Baker, his completion percentage has hovered around 50% in the preseason. He also took a lot of sacks and threw, I think, 3 interceptions. Tyrod threw none. So I think we're going to start off with Tyrod. Hopefully we start off on the right foot, but if I'm forced to, and I probably will, I will bring in Baker around week 4 or 5 if need be.
It's always the hard thing when you have a game manager style QB as your starter, who's probably a surefire guy, but he's not very flashy, and you have a flashy first round rookie on the bench. You always get the pressure to see, like, when is he going to go in? But from as far as we know, good news for both of us is we stayed relatively healthy, I think, through the preseason, which is always a good sign. And now I think what we're going to do, this isn't going to be a long video, we are just going to really preview these Week 1 matchups for us. We'll start with mine. It was actually a team we faced in the preseason, which was the Colts. I was correct. I wasn't sure if it was true. It is. T.Y. Hilton was hurt on that first drive in the game when he took a late hit from Vontaze Burfict. I'm not even kidding. That's what happened. Vontaze hit him after the ball was dropped. And there will be no suspension. There will be a fine, but there will be no suspension for Vontaze Burfict. But T.Y. Hilton will be out for 5 weeks with an abdominal tear. As far as the rest of the Colts go, that's going to hinder, but it's going to be returning Andrew Luck for the first time since, what, 2016? 15? Obviously a very, very skilled QB. The key is going to be probably shutting him down and forcing the Colts to try to win the battle in the trenches with the run game. They've got, from what I saw in the preseason, was a hefty rotation of running backs between Marlon Mack, Hines, and Turbin. The receivers without T.Y. Hilton, it's a very weak core. Their best receiver is Ryan Grant, who's really just a slot receiver. There is Chester Rogers, and then there's two rookies, Deion Kane and Reese Fountain, who both don't have very high ratings. Kane's at least got some speed on him, but nothing that really should worry you there. Their tight ends are going to be the biggest point of their passing attack. There's going to be Jack Doyle. I didn't even realize it was 34. Wow. Who's going to probably be the chain mover with his high catching ratings. And then Eric Ebron, who they're going to try to stretch the field vertically with. Their O-line is improved. Quentin Nelson is a beast. But I think we're going to have to attack the right side of the line, which is their weak spot. However, actually, I just noticed this as well. They will be without starting center Ryan Kelly. So Geno Atkins is going to be going against a backup center in Deshaun Bond. So that's probably the matchup we're going to want to exploit. As far as their defense, they have beefed up their D-line. Jabal Sheard is a beast. Their D-tackle game isn't horrible. Their linebacking core, their Mike linebackers are probably where we're going to want to attack. Try to see if we can get Giovanni Bernard on some angles. Their linebacking core is the weakest part of their defense. And then in the secondary, they really don't have anybody who can cover A.J. Green. I really don't think they do. The safeties are good, but both of them are really box safeties. So I don't really think much of them. It's going to be a kind of a slugfest style game, and really the hard thing is going to be Andrew Luck. I have to get to him early. Well, that's it for me there, King. Who's your Week 1 matchup?
My Week 1 matchup is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, a division matchup.
Starting right off the bat.
Defense will have its hands full early with the big three of Ben, Brown, and Bell. Also, we have to worry about Juju. And, I mean, their receivers are relatively weak. Besides those two, I mean, James Washington, Justin Hunter, and Darius Hayward-Bay are really nothing special. Hayward-Bay has some speed on him. Tight end, Vance McDonald and Jesse James are decent, but they're not great. So I think our linebacking core will be okay with that.
I mean, McDonald's mostly a run blocker.
Line, though, their offensive line is pretty decent. Their from center, right guard, and right tackle is amazing. The left side of their offensive line is a little weak with Raymond Foster and Villanueva. They're
weak, relatively speaking.
They're bad considering that David DeCastro and Marcus Gilbert are on the other side. Now, our offensive line is going to have its hands full with Stephon Tuitt and Cameron Hayward with the rush. along with Javon Hargrave. And then we always have to worry about Ryan Shazier at middle linebacker, but he's hurt. So
He is indeed hurt. He still has his tailbone injury.
We have to worry about the rush of TJ Watt. And Bud Dupree, he has some speed on him. So we're going to have to look out for him in the coverage. Cornerback-wise, not a really fast group here with Joe Hayden, Artie Burns, and Mike Hilton. All relatively decently speedy guys, but nothing really spectacular there. I mean, they have a good, decent cornerback room, but nothing special. And their safeties are also not very good. I mean, they have Morgan Burnett, but Sean Davis, for the free, is definitely a weakness. And
they also have their first-round
really
pick, who looks like he's high, not starting.
Who? Terrell
Edmonds. Look at it. I mean, look at his picture. You tell me what he's doing in that picture.
I mean, he wouldn't really start. I mean, he would start maybe at free, but strong Morgan, that's fine.
Yeah.
And Chris Boswell's a very reliable kicker, so we're gonna have to worry about him.
Oh, that reminds me, do I still have 2 punters on roster?
Nah, I got mine. So that's it for me.
Not you, I'm worried about me. No, I don't. Okay, good.
Matchup.
Alright, well that is the matchups here, and we will look forward to meeting them in week 1. And we'll see you next time on the joint franchise, Battle of Ohio. See you later.